This is Walt Disney World Today. Give us 5 minutes and we'll give you the world.
It's Friday, January 6th, 2006, and this is episode number 46 of Walt Disney World Today. I'm Matt Hochberg from MGMstudios.org. On the show today, we've got Mike Newell of MouseWorldRadio.com. Welcome, Mike.
Hi, Matt. How are you?
I'm outstanding.
Good.
And to compliment me and Mike, we've got Steve Tiki Man Seifert of course, his Polynesian website can be found at tikiman2001.net. Welcome to the show again, Steve.
Por favor, manténgase alejado de las puertas.
Oh, God. We're not
Hey,
live.
I had to add something, with Mike Scopa not being here and all his creative intros. I had to have something.
I thought for one episode we'd be able to skip that, but no, someone's got to come over. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, he's actually going to cut me a check for doing that.
you owe him a nickel for royalties.
Yeah, okay.
Before we get started today, Mike, you've got a quick note to our listeners about where else they can listen to the Walt Disney World Today podcast.
That's right, Matt. Beginning of the January 2nd, WDW Today is available on Mouse World Radio 1 every night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, and it's a free webcast. So you can click on MouseWorldRadio.com, go to the Radio 1 click, and at 7:30 at night you'll hear our lovely voices.
Great. More opportunities to hear our voice. That's just what everybody wanted.
Why not?
Well, today we're giving you a quick guide to some of the best and worst Walt Disney World websites out there. And most people who've probably listening to this podcast have been to the Walt Disney World website. And back me up, guys, here, but isn't the Walt Disney World website is fairly useless?
Oh, yeah, there's not much there that you want to go to except for some pretty pictures and some music.
Yeah, the music is kind of interesting, which I like doing at work. But, I mean, other than they're getting park hours and parade times, things of that nature, I mean, if you want any actual information, like what you can eat at a certain restaurant or what exactly does a certain attraction, have in store for you, or really basic information, I would say, never mind detailed information on any of it, they really don't have anything.
It definitely is very basic. I agree with that. Hours, if attractions are open, that sort of thing. If you're looking for that, you can find that almost anywhere else.
I mean,
it seems like other sites are maybe even more up to date than they seem to.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, the Walt Disney World website really predicates that other websites have to be created because there's a void of useful information over there. Sure. And I mean, you can go through the entire, you can go through all these other unofficial websites and get all the information you'll ever need without ever having to go to the Walt Disney World website.
And with an unbiased opinion.
Absolutely.
That's true, too.
And plus, why would they put all the information there and pay somebody to design their webpage when they know all of us are going to create something and they get it for free?
Yeah. A lot of people always say, aren't you guys afraid you're going to get sued from Disney? And I'd say, first of all, Disney doesn't have the information on their own website. And I think, like you just said, Steve, I think they kind of, they kind of know, and it's kind of a wink-wink, like, okay, so at least the information's out there somewhere, and, I think that we do serve a purpose, and in the end, all these websites that we're going to be talking about are all just really one big advertisement for Disney itself, so.
That's true.
It works out that way. And you had mentioned, Steve, before we recorded the show that you wouldn't even book anything it's not even useful to book something on Disney World's website.
No, I mean, it's maybe worth going in to do a quick check, and who knows how accurate it would be if it tells you there's a room available or not, because then you can end up calling a travel agent or a travel planner, and they can find something when it says it's not available on the site or find better deals.
Absolutely. No, the worst deal you can find is on Disney World's website.
That's right.
Everywhere else you'll find a better deal, I'm sure. The worst travel agent will do you better than the Disney World website. I think that's fairly accurate.
That's true.
So since the Walt Disney World website gives you absolutely nothing, let's go down the list over here, and let's start with the all-in-one websites that kind of like encompass every aspect of Walt Disney World.
Well, I'd have to say the first one I would go to if I really wanted to get just information about almost every aspect would be All Ears Net right off the bat.
Yeah, I was just going to say All Ears Net. I think it's the best. I don't think you can really argue that there's a better source of information for all encompassing.
Sure.
They've got. I mean, I know I always go there. Whenever I need to book a reservation for dining somewhere, I'll
Oh, yeah.
I'll always go there because they have the menus, which are, you can grab the menus on there. They have, pictures of every resort. It's just really an all-encompassing website.
Yeah, and it's not. It's hard to keep all of that information updated, and it's not that. I couldn't even imagine having to keep track of everything that they do on that site, and maybe some of the stuff isn't updated because we know how often everything changes from hours to food to everything else.
Yep.
But I think they do an excellent job of still attempting to keep all that information up.
Yep. Mike, do you have any other all-in-one websites?
I got a couple. One of them is, you mentioned earlier, the WDW Magic is one that I check frequently. That one in the DIS, which is I forget what they're.
Well, there's the DIS has there's the Walt Disney World info. I was actually going to mention that.
That's the one I was thinking of.
See, the problem with that, I have a problem with it, and that's that.
Okay.
You got the DIS boards, which are great. That's going to come a little bit later. We're going to talk about that, but they have the actual website that isn't about discussions, about information. And I found it kind of lacking. I call it kind of the shell of the DIS boards. Like the DIS boards has outgrown the website, and I'm not sure that. Have you found it very useful in the past?
Like I said, just for general information, nothing. You go to the. I would go to the boards for more, in-depth information. But for the main, like you said, the main site, I would just go there for park hours. Just little things, nothing of in-depth information.
I just find it really hard to get a good reason to go to another website that, for all-encompassing information, other than all ears. It just it's like second nature, to go type that in.
Yeah, sure. the main site, especially WDW Info. It's when you click on it, it's all ads.
Yeah,
it is.
Everything is ads, right? Oh. The first thing you see is right in the center, and on the sides is book a trip and this and that, and all the information. But it's too many ads, I think.
I think so too.
Well, not only that, but my shortcut for the DIS is basically right to the discussion boards. I don't even attempt to view the other pages. And for discussion, it's great. But I don't know that it would even be my in the top 10 choices to go to for just general information, unless I happen to already be there in a discussion.
Yeah, that's a great point. Some of the other ones that, I don't know if you call them all-in-one sites, but certainly they encompass all aspects of Walt Disney World. You've got, of course, if Mike Scopa was here, he would talk to you about Mouse Planet. And I like Mouse Planet, because we've been working with Mike Scopa for a while now. I've been going there a lot more often than I used to, and I find that their columns are really very interesting. They do have general information about Walt Disney World, but I think their best value is some of their columns that they have, and they encompass really all sorts of different types of information, whether it's about Disney World or Disneyland, DVD reviews, information from the parks. So I tend to find Mouse Planet pretty useful. Although Mike will also admit that there is a fair amount of, Mike Scopa, that is, there's a fair amount of advertising also on there.
Yeah, but it's not too bad. And when I first went on to Mouse Planet, the thing that drew me there was the articles. Not only that, but the updates for, like you said, both parks, Disneyland and Disney World. It kind of gets you to know what's going on, how are things evolving, without it being too long-winded.
Sure. That's a good point. Let's move on to news sites. Now, Steve, you hit upon one. You mentioned it. I think it was you, Steve, who mentioned WDW Magic. Was that you or Mike?
It's hard to say.
Mike mentioned it.
Mike mentioned it. Mike, Steve, same person. I like them for the information, but I do have a gripe. But first of all, they tend to have 9 out of 10 times they have the information first from anywhere else. Like you got to give credit where credit is due.
Right.
However, I have a problem with them in that how they structure their site, in that they have a paid version of the site where you pay to see things like pictures and videos and things like that.
That's why I can't click on the pictures anymore.
Yeah. Because the pictures they give you are like really small and they don't give you any sort of detail. And of course you want to click on them. And they give them, and you have to pay, and it's a nominal amount, mind you. But I'm against totally that whole structure of things. I don't think it's, especially because I really don't want to get into too much of a rant over here. But a lot of the information they get are from their users. It's not like they go out and get the information themselves, in which case, if you get the information yourself, then you can do whatever you want with it. But there are a lot of these users who, submit their information to the site, and then the site kind of turns around and charges you for it, which I'm not a big fan of. But they do
That's
have...
the problem I have too. Exactly. You get the rumor mill going.
Yeah.
I heard from a cast member, or I heard from this and that one, and it's it's totally false.
Well, they have. I mean, they've been pretty good about the information. I mean, depending on what it is. I mean, they give you all sorts of rumors and information there. But inevitably, they'll have a picture. It's really their media that I have the problem with. When they have a picture of something that's new or a video of a new attraction, and you'd like to be able to see it, and it's just, it's kind of a, I don't want to call it a hassle, but it's just, it irks me a little bit.
Well, the problem with that
you
is
can find it somewhere else.
Well, that's true. Although but when they're new, it kind of takes a little time to trickle down everywhere else.
Sure.
So,
I mean, the three of us know, storage costs money.
Yep. Absolutely.
Well,
I was going to play devil's advocate and say that, I know how expensive it can be, especially me being on my own, and I can't even imagine what it's like for a site like that. I know even Mouse Planet, their discussion boards have, you can do a donation and then there's more options available, things like that.
I think you bring up a good point, Steve. I mean, certainly, look, websites aren't free, and I understand that you got to try to recoup some of your losses here, and I don't think they're making money on it in terms of for profit. I do think that there's other ways to go about it. I think you got the donate option. Yeah. They have a very loyal user base over there, and I'm sure that they'd be more than happy to support them. And you can also do advertising in the form of banners, which every other website out there does. I think those two, you'll cover your bases, I would think.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because I think they do actually have some of their discussion boards have sponsors.
Yeah. Another website that I like for news actually is on intercot.com. They have a news board over there, and they have a lot of actually some good, reliable information that I've seen. I don't know if any of you have been over there.
I haven't been in a while.
The site I find very useless, to be honest. But I mean, it's about the same information you find anywhere else, and it's nothing groundbreaking. But they have a discussion board where for news and rumors, and they have someone on there who's, I believe his username is Figment. I could be wrong, but he posts fairly regularly, and it's some really useful information. It's one of the things that I read on a constant basis between him and Mark Goldhaber on MousePlanet.com. Mm-hmm. Are there any other news places that you guys go to, or is it really just WDW Magic?
Well, that's interesting that you mentioned the thing about Intercot and Figment, because I think I've actually had some, not issues, but we've had some discussions where some of the information I've seen them actually post, at least on the resorts, was incorrect, and I kind of always felt like I was correcting it. And I've had Intercot's actually not a bad, out of the discussions boards. It's not one of the it's one of the better ones. But other than that, I don't know that. I've looked at other stuff on the site, and it's not that it's false information. It's just it sometimes seems to be a little bit out of date.
Sure.
But I haven't read I'd be interested to see the news and rumors section that you were referring to.
Well, you were talking about discussions. So let's move on to Disney discussion sites. And Steve, you mentioned the Disboards earlier.
Yeah.
The Disboards, if you've never been there, I mean, it's the mecca of Walt Disney World discussion online. I mean, there's
It is.
I mean, what are they up to in their user base? I mean, we're talking the tens of thousands.
I don't know, but the server's busy all the time now.
Yeah, don't try to go on during in the evening. Forget about it. But it's probably they have the most amount of users. You're guaranteed to find some engaging discussion. They have forum for nearly everything, and then in those forums, I mean the worst forums have a couple thousand people as opposed to tens of thousands of people responding in there.
Yeah. It's definitely the. I would think, at least my exposure to discussion boards, I would think it's the leader.
Absolutely.
And it's definitely the biggest out there, and I think it's the one that a lot of other offshoots have tried to model after.
That's a good
try
point.
and get some of those people to move on over to their discussion boards.
That's hard, because how many boards can you really be on?
That's true. I used to be on a lot more than I am now, and it's hard. First of all, you've got to have. I mean, it's not just about posting things. I mean, there is a sense of a community, I think, on every website. You start posting, you see these same people posting. You kind of create friendships that way, and that's what made MouseFest such an interesting event. But
absolutely,
it's hard to really crack into a lot of these websites, into new communities and kind of engross yourself. So if you get yourself into one or two, I think that about does it, Mike. So you got a good point about that.
Well, you start to learn. How don't know how to say this, but which ones seem to have a community that are people that really are trying to either learn or share information and not just become kind of a who's better than who, or knocking somebody else's statements, or sometimes
Yep.
it can get ugly. And that happens on the Diz only because there's such a large amount of people, so you're going to get a large cross section of personalities. But you do find some that are maybe not quite as big, but the people are just genuinely in there to share information and not have it turn into anything else.
Sure.
To roll in, I think there was just recently on the RADB board, there was a topic about too many Disney boards around.
Yeah. Mike is, of course, talking about the news group rec.arts.disney.parks. And you have, not to say that you
Which
have
has been around forever.
Yeah, it's one of the oldest things out there, and they have. It's actually somewhere I go on there on a somewhat consistent basis to check something. So that's probably the only other place that I go on a regular basis, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on to money saving sites. I don't think we're going to have a real problem agreeing that Mouse Savers is perhaps the de facto site to go to.
First on my list.
If you're looking for, any sort of deals or information on how to save money, it's got to be hands down the best resource. I also do want to give out a nice little shout out to DisneyOnADime.com.
Oh yeah.
We had their author, Chris Carlson, on a couple months ago, and Chris has more information. It's not so much about saving specific money, like, oh, here's a deal for a hotel, but I think their information is good on how to save money in general. They have a lot of useful information for that. If you can read some of these things, and it's things you never really thought of, and how you can really save money that way. Moving on, I think let's talk a little bit about specialized sites, and what I mean by that are sites that really just deal with one element of it, of Walt Disney World. I would, to give you an example, Steve, your site, if you want information on the Polynesian Resort, sure, you can go to All Ears Net or a lot of other websites, and they'll give you some basic information. But if you really want information on it, like specifics, sites like yours for the Polynesian Resort. If I can blow my own horn for a second, which I don't mind doing, you got mgmstudios.org for the Disney MGM Studios Park. What are some other specialized sites that you guys like?
Well, if you're going to music, one of my favorites is magicmusic.net.
I thought for sure a plug was coming, Mike.
No. Save that for later. But in the music genre, I check out magicmusic.net to see what's new.
I've never been there. What's it about?
It's not just theme park music. It's the Disneyland record label. There's a couple of really good discussions on there about the official releases that come out from time to time. And I frequent there. It's not as active as it once was, but it's still nice to catch up. If I go there once every now and then. One of my favorites.
Steve, do you have any?
We talked about it earlier, the Doom Buggies.
Yes, doombuggies.com.
Oh, Doom Buggies, yeah. Sure.
And its sister site, tellnotales.com, which is a site all about the Haunted Mansion attraction, and tellnotales.com is all about the Pirates of the Caribbean attraction. You're absolutely right. Go ahead. I didn't want to interrupt you.
Oh, and also kind of in that ride theme, but there's actually more than just about a ride, is the Widen Your World. Have you ever been there?
I was just going to say that.
I haven't been there. What's that website?
That's a great site.
Yeah, it's actually good for kind of the some history lesson or the original Walt Disney World. I think it must have started obviously about the ride, and it was one of the areas that I started finding more information about the resorts when they were first built, because I knew there were some other resorts that were supposed to be scheduled, which I have some history at the beginning of my site on, and I got a lot of the information and some leads from that site about the Asian resort and the Persian and all the other ones that were supposed to be built shortly after the Polynesian and Contemporary. And
I believe they have drawings of that too.
They have what they are is they're the original artist renderings, and some of them which came out on postcards that they had created for the different resorts.
They're really fascinating to look at.
Yeah, it's pretty neat to see the way that the since everything was going to be kind of surrounding the two lakes, it's interesting to see the way it was going to turn out if they had gone on with the original plans.
See, again, this is going back to the difference between the all-in-one websites like All Ears Net, which is a great website, but if you really want some interesting information beyond just the general description of it and some pictures, you go to doombuggies.com. There's I would say a ridiculous amount of information about one attraction,
Right.
So it's really it's amazing work that they've done over there.
Very detailed.
Yeah.
I think we can all relate to the you start to focus on something, you have somewhat of a passion for it, and you learn what you know about it, but then you're always hungry for more information, and when more information pops up, as ridiculous as it might be, you kind of absorb it.
There are people who, if you love the attraction, or even if you don't have to love it, you could just there's just such interesting information that's out there that they've compiled on both sites that it's just it's compelling. You'll get sucked into there, and before you know, an hour's gone, and you already know now, the origins of the attraction, and like you were saying about that other site, Steve, about the different things that never came to be. That is one of the most interesting things that you can find out there.
Oh yeah.
I'll just also give a quick plug for my own website, towerofterror.org, which I'm very proud of, so I will mention that.
Now, is there also one? Was it called Yesterland or something? That's kind of the rides that are now gone.
Yeah, there's a few websites that deal with extinct attractions.
Yeah.
Out there. The other one I wanted to also mention was mousesurplus.com.
Oh yes.
Which, for those who don't know, we mentioned it on a previous podcast once or twice. But anyway, Mouse Surplus just they sell stuff from Walt Disney World, so it could be parts of like a bedspread from a resort or a prop from an attraction or a parade, and they sell it to the public on eBay. And it's direct from Disney. They're authorized from Disney. They didn't steal it or anything like that. And it's really great service out there. You should definitely check it. I always check it out once a month just to see what's on sale over there. It tends to be on the expensive side for some of the things, especially the stuff that you actually might want. But certainly if you've got like a love for, people have designed Polynesian-themed rooms in their own house from the stuff they've sold on there, from the Polynesian resort. So it's really an amazing website.
I believe that I read somewhere, either on their site or can't remember where now. Recently, they decided to take it off eBay and actually do it on their own site. I know they still have some stuff floating around eBay, but I'm pretty sure I read that they're going to try and do most of the sales through their own site from now on.
Wow. Okay. Well, you'll still be able to buy it, just different.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And very quickly, we're already running way over time. Media sites that deal with elements of either photos or audio. I'll throw out DisneyPix.com, PIX.com.
Yes, definitely.
They've got. If I've ever wanted to say, well, what's that look like over there? You just hop on over there, and I always look over there. Any other sites that you guys like for media?
I've gone to one and actually used some of their pictures from. It's called Disney World, but it's spelled with a Z, so it's.
DIZNEY?
Yeah, DIZNEYWORLD.net. Mm-hmm. And they've got some resorts, and I guess it's mostly resort pictures, but great photos in there.
Mike?
None that I could think of offhand.
Well, of course, you got to plug Mouse World Radio, Mike.
Oh, that's about it.
We didn't mention Laughing Place in any of the categories, which is not a bad kind of overall, but I actually thought of them for actually photos too, because I've linked to them and used some of their photos of the resorts during the holidays, kind of a thing. But they've got quite a collection of things to view over there too.
I think that falls in the all-in-one category, wouldn't you say, Steve?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so not a bad resource. Well, that's it for us today. Go figure. Without Mike and Len, we went over much longer than we usually do with Mike and Len here.
And we can still go on and on.
Yeah, there's much more information. I'd like to thank Steve Seifert for being on. Steve's website can, of course, be found online at tikiman2001.net. So if you have any inclination to find out more information about the Disney's Polynesian Resort, you look no further than Steve's site. Steve, thanks for being on.
Oh, thank you.
And that's it for us today. This has been episode number 46 of Walt Disney World Today. You can visit us online at www.wdwtoday.com for the show notes. And you can also email us. Just email your questions to questions@wdwtoday.com. As always, our new shows are on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays of every week. For Len Testa, Mike Scopa, and Mike Newell, and Steve Seifert, I'm Matt Hochberg. We'll see you on the next show.